This is Tim Travis of Swan Energy, the Vice President of Operations.
Imran Khan, Swan Energy.
Brandon Davis, Swan Energy.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. We're going to go right to the mailbag today in our mining money segment here, and we want to find out what's going on. You know, I get this probably emailed more than anything, is this ESG movement. I've talked to some operators. One of them mentioned they were switching their ESG report, part of their annual shareholder deal, from 45 pages to 90 pages. I've talked to bankers that say that, oh yeah, you need it, but they don't know how to implement it. I just got an email this morning from a professor down at Texas A&M that was debunking this whole ESG movement. So you got, BP and Exxon and the big guys trying to talk about the ESG movement, but on the other side, deals are still needing to be done and financing still needs to be had. I got kind of intrigued last week when you brought up this great bank loan you got from, or this rate that you got to do some financing. That's been a big problem for people. So I thought we'd kind of mesh the two together, see what your guys' thought is about this ESG movement, because you guys are out there getting deals done when a lot of people can't. And that's really important right now. So I don't know which one of you wants to take the ESG baton first, but ESG stands for environmental, social governance, and it is a very new sort of a movement that's kind of, in my opinion, being led by a 16-year-old girl. So you guys can handle it.
I'll take it first, and thank you for telling me what it means, because I'd never really heard of it before this conversation. I guess I have heard of it from people asking, but I had no idea what they were asking about. And the last part of that, we say what the S means again?
Environmental, social governance, so like a social cause.
Yeah. Well, I own my company, and there's no social governance happening here, nor will it ever, so I don't care. And if people don't like me and they don't like what we do, they don't have to do business with us. It's that simple. Companies that are corporate and changing, doubling the size of their annual report based on what you're saying to accommodate this, that's insane. And I don't know. The oil and gas industry has become very environmentally friendly over the years, and more so than most industry. And for additional pressure to be put on for more environmentally and socially acceptable things, I'm not into it. I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I honestly don't give a shit. What do you think, Imran?
It's all about the environmentally challenged. is what it's good to see these different companies doing what they feel their shareholders want them to say and do. And as Brandon just pointed out, he owns his company completely, all 100%. So there's no shareholders per se that he needs to make happy around it, right? It's just one of those things you hear about BP and how they're totally reinventing themselves. It's great for them. Whatever floats their boat. And when you announce that the day of, when you're what is that? The profit statement is coming out, and you're losing $70 billion. You talk about ESG, right? I think that's kind of that says it all right there, right?
Yeah, and go waste more money on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it seems like its primary purpose is to make everybody get little butterflies in their stomach. And in some cases, I can make an argument that there are instances where focusing a little bit on some ESG, public-facing ESG at least, whether or not your internal policies are different, regardless, you get like BP's still trying to make up ground with the regulators since the Macondo, right? I mean, they went on an all-out ESG campaign after that just to get some credibility back. Oil and gas in general is just seen as sort of a dirty industry, and it seems like there's been operators that have bought in and have been very overzealous about trying to rebrand themselves. We've got an oil field services company in Oklahoma, and we did a lot of work for Newfield, then Canna, now Oventive, and they spent $10-15 million building a recycling facility for flowback water, produced water. Basically just to put a flyer in it.
Say they had it.
Basically just put a flyer in an investor presentation, and the thing processed a third of the capacity it was supposed to. It was constantly down. But guess what? They got to put it in a brochure and pat themselves on the back for it. And all their, all the hedge funds and investment banks that backed them all got to feel better about, them investing in.
When I get butterflies about the oil business or our business, when I see airplanes flying and lights turning on and bottles that hold water and other things, computers, computer chips, everything that everyone uses every day, that comes from a byproduct of our business, that's what gives me butterflies. So without the oil and gas business, there is no socialization, there's no travel, there's nothing. We can use a horse and carriage.
It just kind of tells you right there that, people take all that stuff for granted.
Yep.
Right? It's very, it's like, well, yeah, we did that yesterday. Well, what are we doing today type of thing? And it's like, let's actually take a moment and appreciate the fact that that's not an easy thing to be able to produce to begin with. And to be able to have to begin with.
Yeah, and I think to kind of piggyback on some of the things we've talked about over the last few weeks too, that it's a good time to buy right now, and with a lot of the distractions that are going on with this ESG stuff, because that's how I really look at it, is it's really kind of a distraction away from the petroleum industry's future. Because when we look at 93 to 96% of our daily products and uses and lifestyle, from our toothpaste to our toothbrush to the things that we use to get the toothbrush and toothpaste to our house, need fossil fuels in some capacity. In my lifetime, if we went down to say 80%, that would be an incredible shift in my lifetime. And that's just 15% decrease of our fossil fuel usage. That's how much of our lifestyle is intertwined with this. And going back 150 years, humans have been getting more green naturally. I mean, we used to burn hay and wood and whales. And when we take a look at, and Imran, you might understand this with your background, but when we look at our deviation from carbon to hydrogen, which is cleaner, going away from carbon to hydrogen in terms of a way to burn fuel, we're down to like 4 molecules with natural gas now. It's extremely clean, and humans have been evolving to become more clean without the help of Greta Thunberg or the Sierra Club for the last 150 years. So I see this ESG thing almost as kind of like a distraction away from getting a good deal right now, as actually kind of getting into it, because I don't see oil and gas going anywhere, but at least staying where it's at for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So very long question to ask. What's your guys' thoughts when it comes to the ESG and just how much of our lifestyle is based on petroleum products? Brandon, you brought up that earlier, so elaborate on that a little bit more if you wouldn't mind from an investment standpoint.
Well, I mean, it's everywhere. It's in everything you touch.
And if it's not, it's one of the underlying reasons that it got there.
Right. And that's the reality we live in. And for people to think that we could change that without massive changes in the way people live, it's just insane to me. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'll just say that, like, the whole mindset of
and
I don't get it.
Working in the energy industry, and I got a degree in petroleum engineering from the University of Texas at Austin, and I can tell you that, look, we have a free market economy, and the reason that we're not all running on solar and wind power and geothermal power is because it's just not a viable alternative for hydrocarbons. It's not. Nobody thinks about the convenience of being able to pick up a gallon of a liquid gasoline and being able to drive your car 30 miles down the road. There's no replacement for that.
So, Jason, you have a petroleum engineer, a chemical engineer, and a high school graduate sitting here having a conversation about this. And we're all saying the same thing, just some of us are more technical than others.
Wait, which one's a high school graduate? Because I'm not. No, I'm just kidding.
That's me.
I'm just
He's got as much. He's got enough hours to have gone and finished college. By the way, he just likes to say that. Just FYI.
I have no degree. I'm degreeless.
He won't take the last 3-hour course he needs to get.
Yeah, more or less.
Keep using it as a time.
I wish they would take those hours away that I have so I could get further into the.
I'll make some phone calls.
But you know what, though? Honestly, you bring up a great point, which I'm going to fold into this, which is when you take a look at some of the most successful entrepreneurs in America, whether it be Henry Ford to Steve Jobs. Henry Ford, what, an 8th grade education? Steve Jobs dropped out of Berkeley, and Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard. So you don't need an education to get it. I'm sorry. I always tell my son that
I know how to make money.
Yeah, when you go to school,
When I figured out how to make money, I quit going to school because I was having to spend money, and it cost me money to be there because I wasn't able to work.
That's right.
Opportunity cost.
The opportunity cost was way too high for me, and I was literally in my last semester. Literally. Anyway, whatever. Let's talk about voting. Have you voted?
I have not yet. I have not voted yet. It's coming up in the next couple of weeks, but we can certainly talk about that because we've had a lot of people wonder.
In the room over here have already voted.
Oh yeah, we've got some.
You guys have early voting over there?
Yeah, we've got early voting and by the mail and things like that. I just haven't gotten around to it. We're doing some other things that have kind of taken my attention away. But there's a lot of people focused on the election right now and on how that's going to impact the market. And for me, I'd like to know your opinion on this because I think it's actually holding things up. And I think Trump's going to win. I don't think it matters who's going to win because the oil and gas industry ain't going anywhere no matter who wins. I mean, Biden I think he flip-flopped on that a little bit. But
the main thing I wanted to talk about was, now that I've already voted, what do I do for the next 2 weeks? Because I can't turn on the television. I can't read the news because all it is the social media and people trying to sway votes one way or the other. So it's kind of a interesting. I've never voted this early, so it's kind of and I'm holding my breath just to see what happens. There's a lot of money on the sidelines too.
It'd be nice if we get some ESG set up so that you could have a way to switch all that stuff off and turn the branding off once you've cast your ballot.
Yeah, we do some Facebook advertising, and we paused it for the entire month of October because the political spending was so high that it was driving our rates up so high we couldn't afford it. Like it blew us out of it basically killed it for us. That's how much money they're spending. It's like the 8 figures per campaign per week.
It's remarkable. And in fact, in a lot of radio stations, you have to have buys way in advance because they only got a certain amount of inventory. And these political ads, they pay top dollar and cash. So there's no collecting.
I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for either, Jason, but I'm voting for the only candidate that loves this country. That's what I'm doing. That's who I voted for.
Have you found that people out there are impacted either waiting or they're investing or not? Have you found that
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of people lots of people are scared to death that Joe Biden's going to win and it's going to kill the economy. Lots of people are scared of that. And then all the haters just don't want Trump to win. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I haven't heard anyone tell me that they're voting for Donald Trump, but a lot of that's been implied. I know a lot of people who are. But I've heard a lot of people tell me they're going to vote for Joe Biden, and I always ask them.
What's the stigma there, by the way?
It's one question I asked them. I was like, why are you voting for Joe Biden? And it's either because they hate Donald Trump, or he didn't react the right way to COVID-19, but Joe Biden would have because he was telling people,
they can go back in time and replace him.
That's interesting.
The only thing. Those are the only reasons people tell me that they're voting for Joe Biden. I don't understand how someone can vote for someone because they hate someone else. Like the guy can't even put together a damn sentence.
It's not a vote for Biden. It's a vote against Trump.
Yeah.
It seems like most of the ballots that are being cast for Biden.
I just see
That's great.
That's very interesting to me because I got in a debate last night with some people about this, and our program's non-political for the most part. We'll talk about policy and have policymakers on, but we don't get into the big sensational part and in the gotcha questions and things like that. If we do talk politics, it's pretty civilized like we're doing right now. And when last night I ended up sticking up for Trump and explaining a few things, like they were just ragging on his COVID handling. And I looked at the people and I said, actually, I disagree with you. I think he's the only one showing any leadership. And they were appalled and they looked at me and I said, would you like to read the emails from my kid's superintendent and from the principals who are asking me how to lead the school when they're getting paid to lead the school? Would you like to see the written letters I got from public leaders asking me how I would do their job? I said, whether you like Trump or not, he's the only one making definitive decisions during a time when people need definitive decisions. Anybody can sit back and be a backseat driver, but it takes a real leader to actually make decisions, right or wrong, to move the country ahead. Well, that of course got some people's ires up, and then they said, oh, you work in the oil and gas industry, so you just love Trump. I said, actually, that's not even close to the truth. I said, the reason that I stick up for Trump is because I'm not afraid of immigrants coming and stealing my job. I'm afraid of my health insurance premium going up. It's those types of things that I'm worried about. And that quieted the room really quick then because, he is the only one showing leadership and he is tackling on some real problems that affect the average person, like their pocketbook and their insurance premiums and those types of things. So I don't know if you guys want to do anything with that little tirade I just had, but I thought it was interesting because, man, you can't even go to a dinner party now without somebody getting down your throat,
Well, and it's visceral too. It's not just a conversation. It's aggressive, and I've experienced that too. And I just laugh at people because it just, it's like you want to silence me is basically what their whole mission is.
Well, because they don't have any points on their
because
side.
there's no agenda at all. So what are you gonna say, Tim?
I was just going to say, it's almost like, if people would just kind of let their emotions take a back seat for a minute, take a step back, and COVID-19 has set the whole world on fire. But for the most part, I would venture to say pretty confidently that most people's lives have improved and their financial positions have improved since Trump took office. The economy has crushed it.
Period.
Everyone's retirement accounts are up. 401ks are up. Jobs are, job unemployment rate's down. It's if you would just get it out of your head that, he says some dumb stuff on Twitter every once in a while. His cabinet is a revolving door because he can be hard to work with. Like, just, get the...
I can relate.
Get the Celebrity Act part of it out of it and just look at what the results are. This goes back to the ESG thing, but during the Obama administration, there was the EPA passed a regulation that all cars I forget what it's called, but cars would have to meet certain fuel efficiency standards, right?
Cars for clunkers.
That was a program, trading old cars. There's another one that was basically for every vehicle manufacturer
Required so much
average
efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, average efficiency, which is just comical to me because, again, we live in a free market economy, and that would naturally happen anyway.
Yeah.
Through competition.
Why would you buy a less efficient Honda Civic when you could get a more efficient Honda Civic? And Honda will be motivated to make their cars more efficient because you're more likely to buy them. That's just the way things work. But instead, they passed this legislation so that they could pat themselves on the back, and all it did was make these massive car manufacturers, which can't just spit on a dime and change business strategies.
Then there were some of them that were cheating with the emissions and
all the
all
Volkswagen
kinds of
stuff,
stuff. That's what
diesel
happens
stuff,
when
Or the Europeans who can do no wrong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny when they got caught.
It was.
The Europeans, by the way, if you looked at how they've done with their ESG movement, their green movement, I know Germany is the model for, green energy. And their electric bills and their energy bills are 4 times what they're supposed to be. And they had to fire up the coal plants anyways. And what they call green is burning biofuel, which is burning trees. It's
So
remarkable.
yeah, right, which makes a lot of sense, right? Let's cut down the forest so we can have energy when we don't need to.
Right.
But it's amazing to me.
And Germany has the largest movable piece of equipment on planet Earth. It's called the Bagger 288, and it's for coal mining. This thing is it's insanity. If you watch Westworld,
yes, the big spinny thing. I've seen.
Yes,
that's cool.
That's an actual machine, and
we need one like that, like a mini version of that for our gold mine. We need to find one. It would help a lot. I was going to say though, like I think about this whole thing with California and getting the gas car thing and
The 2035.
yes, but what I want to know is how people that are in poverty levels today, if we could fast forward to 2035 and say all the cars were electric, what's their electric bill going to be? Like how much is it going to increase people's home electricity bill if all cars and all moving objects are essentially using that same power grid to power their vehicles? It's going to double and triple cost, and that's this thing that people haven't thought. It's great for the environment, but it's going to double our homeless population every 6 months.
But is it great?
How's it sourced?
No,
Exactly.
it's not. I was being.
No, exactly. But to that point, the electricity has to be generated from somewhere. And
Yep.
you can do it. I mean, there's clean sources. Geothermal energy is one, wind, solar. But what I think a lot of people just totally miss on is the fact that the amount of infrastructure that would be required, it's not feasible. I mean, when the wind's not blowing, your air conditioner doesn't work, and the ventilators at the hospital don't work, and that can't happen. There has to be a constant, consistent energy supply, and you just don't get that with most widely available, quote unquote, clean energy sources.
That all take products made by byproducts of oil and gas.
Yes.
Well, what I think
Be able to build them without it.
one of the reasons why I think that Trump is actually doing a very good job leading and is getting the backlash he is because he's trying to redirect the narrative. Right now, the narrative is that we got 10 years on this planet and we're all dead. That's what I heard last night over and over again, that we have 10 years, that they're naming 10 years now. That's the catastrophe. And
That's exciting.
And I know, I'm going to go max my...
Look, there would be nothing better for me, Jason, than to know when I'm going to die. And if it's 10 years from yesterday, I'm going to live it up.
That's all I kept thinking about, too, is that if you're telling me I got 10 years left, Bora Bora, Hawaii, you name it.
I don't care about the environment anymore at all.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
The environment's
That's the last thing on my mind. I'm going to enjoy myself. Because if it's 10 years away, we can't save it.
That's where my mind is, too. That's why I'm going, I don't get this whole planet of platitudes thing. This catastrophe is not the narrative that is healthy, and Trump is trying to steer us away from that. And as that narrative is trying to be steered away, the people that like that low-hanging fruit of the fear-mongering, they don't want that. And they're in power right now. A lot of them are with their nice cush government jobs. So they don't want that guaranteed check to go away. So you're seeing a little bit of that backlash happen. But honestly, Tim, you brought up a great point about the infrastructure, but I think you need to go a step further, because one of the issues with the electric cars and the whole electric movement that no one is talking about is who's going to replace the roads with the gas tax and all these other things. Because when you go buy an electric car, you get a sticker shock from the state, because you got to pay how many miles are going to be driven on that car and a gas tax when you go register the vehicle. So how many people are going to want to pay $5,000 to $6,000 to $10,000 to register their vehicle? That's going to be a sticker shock. They're not going to expect that. And how is the state then going to figure out a way to replace that gas tax that is no longer being utilized because everybody has their electric cars now in their house? This is the kind of stuff that is actual legitimate conversations. But no one will have that because they're busy saying, we got 5 years until this planet burns up. What are you doing? Driving a car, driving an SUV. It's that's why I call it the planet of platitudes. We got to get to the realm of reality away from the planet of platitudes. So anyway, I don't know if you guys ever thought about that gas tax thing or not.
It's an interesting point you brought up, and I hadn't thought about it before. But that's sort of, a common theme when, legislation gets passed and initiatives are undertaken, is that, unexpected things that weren't on anybody's radar pop up after the fact, right? In hindsight, the affordable carriage is one of them. Like insurance premiums, when we renew our company's insurance every year, it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and it's like there's just no end in sight. I don't know. It's like good. It's like, ESG, good intentions, and then just you fumble on the handoff. You run one lap and that's it.
All right, guys, let's wrap her up. Looking at the clock, we've gone a lot of different directions today, but let's get back to the investment side of things. And, we've said before, it's a good time to invest in a number of different things, but it really is. And especially if people are waiting for the election and a number of different things. So let's just kind of summarize, your guys' views over the next few weeks as we get ready for the election and what people should be thinking about as they think about their money as we get into this election season. Go ahead. Whoever wants to start, go right ahead.
I'll start. It's pretty simple. The election's in 2 weeks. It's already started. It'll probably go for 2 weeks after, based on everything I'm hearing, which is what it is. Nothing is going to change no matter what happens with the election. And so as far as investing goes, look for great opportunities, because there are a lot of them right now. They're easy to see, and they're not hard to get a hold of if you look.
Yeah, if you're someone who isn't just a wound up little stress ball about, your investment portfolio, if you are, I would lean toward advising someone to not look at it for about the next 3 months.
Hold your breath.
The market will react. And then it'll rebound, whichever direction it goes, right? And then it'll sort of be back to the status quo, more than likely. But if you're not a little wound up, stressed ball about the whole situation, there are opportunities on the table while everybody else is over or underreacting to the situation, where a level-headed individual can come in and make some moves.
Yeah, so prices are low. That's the bottom line in all the different industry. I think people just need to realize that you're getting it discounted right now, and that's where the upside is built in. So
gas prices are up $1 for the last 60 days.
Yeah,
just went from $1.80, $1.65, or $1.70 to $2.80.
At the beginning of COVID, you're
phenomenal.
Right. Even June, July time, it's gone up quite a bit. So that just kind of shows you the incline that is there throughout the industry and in other industries too.
Hey guys, before I forget, I brought up that bank loan earlier, and I know last week you guys wanted to check with your banker to see if you could, disclose it and that sort of thing. We kind of teased on it, but can we revisit that as we kind of can conclude here? Is there a Can you disclose some of that bank information for me?
Yeah, definitely. So the bank that we used was First Capital Bank of Texas, and they're out of the different banks that I've reached out to from an oil and gas perspective. They're really on it, and they're definitely in the right competition, and I want to say aggressive, but in a sense aggressive with the right mindset. So I think they definitely are looking to be able to help people who've got good deals and finance those deals that are out there right now. So others that are out there that are looking for an advantage with a good bank, definitely First Capital Bank of Texas has been doing some great work with us.
First Capital Bank of Texas. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, guys.